on YouTube, and we're also recording episode number 5 for the All-Things Fisker podcast. Yes, you heard that right. This show is now in a podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and my favorite, Spotify. So go ahead and check that out. It's actually good for the people that miss the show or who can't necessarily watch the show, as a lot of people watch it the next day at work. So it's also a good way for you to listen to what the three of us have to say. And as you can probably see, I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody who is listening to the podcast, either tomorrow or later in the week, we have Jim from OSR Garage joining us tonight. Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. Thanks for coming out tonight. And then we have Matt from Tesla Tips by Mountain Ranger, as well as Ocean Views, his Fisker soon-to-be channel, whatever that may be. So, how you doing? Matt?
Doing great.
Excellent. So we have a pretty action-packed show, I would say, for you today who are watching in and listening to the podcast. We're going to talk about a handful of things. We're going to talk about Fisker Ocean production at Magnaster and what's going on there. We're going to dive into the Paris Auto Show, and we're also going to talk about that latest Fisker Ocean that should be there on display. So that'll be pretty neat. We're going to talk about the USA road tour that Fisker's starting just here in, a couple weeks or so. And then we're going to talk about charging at CCS locations. Matt's going to actually provide a great rundown on that. He did a really cool test on his Tesla, and we're going to hear all about that. And then we're going to talk about Fisker's Starbucks post and some of the controversy that created on social media for primarily investors, a few reservation holders, but a lot of investors were really upset about that. So we're going to talk about that. And then speaking of investments, we're going to talk about Fisker's stock. And we're not going to give financial advice because that's not what the show's all about. It's all things Fisker. So we're just going to talk about Fisker stock, where it's at. You all probably know it's at an all-time low. And it did fractionally close higher today, but we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to take your questions live. So that's the show tonight. I'm going to head over to YouTube real quick. Where's everybody watching us from tonight? We usually get a lot of people on the East Coast, some in LA, and then a few throughout the United States, dotted, scattered around. I think last week we had I think it was like 700 people or so watched the show live. Not everybody watched it at the same time, but it was quite a turnout, which was pretty cool. So let me go ahead and pull up. If you, Jim, and Matt see who is on the channel tonight, go ahead and do some shout outs if you don't mind while I pull it up.
We got good old Wilmington, North Carolina.
Excellent.
Had Jeffrey in Sonoya, Georgia. AJ Barrett, Norfolk.
Yeah. We have Steve Brown, nice. Also from Wilmington.
Michael in Cincinnati. Great. Geez, a couple North Carolinas tonight. Washington, D.C., yeah. Kansas City. Shout out to DC. Yes, there you go. So we got people from all over. There'll probably be quite a few people joining us as they always do. Late. We usually start a few minutes late just so we can get as many people on so they don't have to catch up. We got Quentin over in Saris, California, Martin in Burbank, California. There's our people from California, Tampa, Sarasota. Rick, hey, thanks for jumping on again. Rosanna, who has the music playing? Oh, that's me. That's right. We got the music playing. Let's lower the music. Good call, Rosanna. There you go. You can probably hear us much better now. That was the intro music. That went on a little too long for the people who are on the podcast. So let's go ahead, gentlemen. Let's jump into it. We got 36 days as of today to the official start of Fisker Ocean production. That's pretty exciting. It's we're getting close to that November 17th date, and we're by the end of this week, going into next week, there's going to be a lot of new updates that are going to be coming down the line. One of those, speaking of the line, the production line, we're probably going to get an update, I would imagine, from Fisker either this weekend, possibly early next week. They're going to have a lot of news, I believe, next week. Fisker, if you recall from last week, they're actually planning to build 23 Fisker Oceans throughout this entire week over at Magnastera. So that would have been the most Fisker Oceans they've ever built in 1 week. 23 vehicles. So that was, it's going to be quite a feat for them. We're on Wednesday. We don't know when they started, but that is the goal. Jim and Matt, you think they're going to be able to knock out 23 Fisker Oceans in 1 week, or you think they're going to fall short a little?
They're going to hit 30.
They're going to hit 30. Well, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, under promise and over deliver. That's always a good thing. But I believe they're going to hit exactly 23. I think they're gonna hit exactly what they told us. And the reason is, they created a plan. They're going to execute the plan, and I bet the plan doesn't call for any more than exactly what they communicated. And who knows? We'll see. That's going to be about a 25%. 23 vehicles will be 25% of the overall total of all Fisker Oceans built to date. So right now they had 95 built. They're going to be adding another 23. Pretty impressive. And that gets us closer to the official start of production, where they're going to have to probably build a lot more than 23 a week. I think one of the research reports that I've read, it was, I believe, a Morgan Stanley report. They believe there was actually going to be 200 deliveries in 2022. Who knows if that actually comes to fruition or not? But if they're going to deliver 200 vehicles, whether those are in Europe or here in the United States, that means they're probably going to be producing more than 200. I did, and maybe some of the people that are listening in tonight and watching may have read that I for the 13 days or so that are going to be in the month of November, I think they're going to crank out 200 vehicles. And then in the month of December 2022, I said 300 vehicles. Could be light, could be heavy. Who knows what's actually going to happen? Time will tell. That's kind of how things go. We'll look in the past and be like, oh yeah, they did 200 in November, 300 in December. But that's I'm hoping they do that. 500. Assemble 500 vehicles this year, because my lock date is November 22nd. Actually 21st. I'll take that back. November 21st, 2022. So who knows when that delivery is going to happen? We will find out on October 31st, or at least someone's going to find out when Fisker will start communicating delivery dates for Ocean 1, people who've pre-ordered the Ocean 1. So that's something exciting to look forward to on Halloween if Fisker delivers on that date. What do you guys think about production? Have you modeled anything, or have you looked at anything around how many vehicles the company is going to deliver by the end of the year? Do you have a guesstimate?
I haven't. I saw your article, and those numbers seem pretty reasonable to me as far as what they can do. Yeah. For this quarter.
Yeah, I think the harder it becomes when we get later out into, like, I don't know, the Q2 2023, Q3 2023. Like, what are they going to actually do? Will they actually be able to ramp production at a 50% growth rate month over month? Is that too high, too low? Who knows? So that's kind of interesting. So the message here is exciting times. 36 days today to the official start of production. Fisker and Magna are working on 23 vehicles this week. They planned last week. Will they hit it this week? We'll talk about it next week on All Things Fisker. So that's kind of the update, the latest there with production. We do know now, if we roll into the Paris Auto Show, that's actually kind of the meat and potatoes of tonight's talk, I would say. The company did announce they're going to go to the Paris Motor Show. They're going to be there on October 17th through 23rd. I believe they're going to be in Hall 3, and they're going to be at one of their finance partners' booths. and they had previously attended an event in Paris with their finance partner, and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to, they don't have their own booth. They're partnering up with their finance company, who's going to be providing loans and doing a lot of B2B transactions in France. And they're going to be there with what we heard from Henrik Fisker earlier this week is a latest production intent vehicle. What do you guys think about that?
Should be exciting to see. Everybody wants to see the interior, how the seats are different, I think is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the interior is going to be definitely an interesting one. Is it going to be similar to the Fisker Ocean that's touring Europe, right? That silver lining, that looked like it had newer seats based on some of the images we saw. So, I think it's going to look more like that personally than what I saw at Fully Charged Live in San Diego. I think those seats were pretty old. That vehicle was built about a year ago. So that is, that's a good one. The interior will be neat. Maybe we'll get to see the taco tray, right? That could be interesting. We don't know, right? One thing we don't know, it's the latest Fisker Ocean production intent vehicle that's going there, right? But we don't know, is it going to be a Fisker Ocean 1? Is it going to be an Extreme, an Ultra, or is it going to be a Sport? Now, Henrik Fisker, for the people that are watching us live on YouTube, Henrik Fisker actually shared an image of a Fisker Ocean going through the spray booth, or the paint booth, if you will. And that vehicle, I'm going to throw it up here on the screen here, and we'll describe it for the people who are listening into the podcast. But the Fisker Ocean that was in the actual post, the social media post that Henrik announced the latest Fisker Ocean was going to be there, that vehicle, kind of tough for me to tell what it was. It was either, I would say, it could be, I don't know, Big Sur Blue. It could be Mariana. What color do you think that is, guys? Can you tell what that is?
It's not Big Sur Blue because that's got a gloss finish on it.
Definitely has a gloss. Definitely does.
I would say Mariana.
Yeah, probably Mariana. We saw quite a few Mariana photos this past week from Fisker Inc. on social media. A couple different angles of assembly line workers.
It looks a little too blue to be the Horizon Gray, which is another one people want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it look like seagrass by chance? Probably not, right? It's got kind of like a greenish color, but maybe that's just the green. We have some people in the chat saying it's Mariana. Everyone, I think, agrees that it's probably Mariana. I'm just throwing the questions out there. It's probably Mariana, but it's fun to kind of to talk about what it could be. One thing you'll notice, there's no interior in there because it's being sprayed. There's no roof. We do have just a metal body, and it looks like they're putting a pretty good spray of probably. I'm going to go with, because it's probably going to be a clear coat, I would imagine, right? You said you saw a sheen on the paint, so it's probably not paint. It's probably you got the reflection of the sprayer. So it's probably some sort of a top coat. And I learned today, so for the people who are getting a matte finish, or people just in general who are getting maybe even a gloss, a gloss finish, I spoke today to our friends over at Dr. Beasley's, and I've been reaching out to them. And if for the people that don't know, if you have the matte finish paint, I'm going to be doing a show with them, or a video with them, probably turn it into a podcast too. And we're going to talk about how to properly protect not only your matte finish on a Fisker Ocean, but also a gloss finish on a Fisker Ocean. And I learned one thing today. We talked about hot rods, and when you go to like a hot rod show and you see some beautiful Corvette painted in black and it's super glossy. The guy was telling me today, Chris, he was saying that you can make a car, have like a really deep gloss every time you put an additional layer of top coat, of clear coat on it. It makes it like a deeper, more beautiful, finish. And the finishes are very, very small layers of paint, but you're saying, hey, some people at those hot rod shows spend upwards of $100,000 on their paint job just trying to make it super, super glossy. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But as everyone probably knows by now, I'm going with my Fisker Ocean a Big Sur Blue, which will be in a matte finish. And that will end up being something I want to protect. And waiting for Matt to come up and tell us all about the paint protection film. Oh yeah, the paint protection film. And we're going to watch him get his Fisker Ocean at some point protected with that paint protection film. And the person I spoke to today from Dr. Beasley's actually recommended, even with a matte finish, even if you do a ceramic coating throughout the whole exterior paint, to also do what you recommended, Matt, and putting that paint protection film on the front end of the vehicle for the rocks and things like that. Because any sort of ceramic coating, as soon as the paint actually falls off of the vehicle, you can't actually fix it. So that paint protection film helps keep the paint intact, and especially true with a matte finish. It's much harder to fix chips and things like that in a matte finish. So the paint protection film is definitely recommended, even with ceramic coating. So I learned a lot of cool stuff today about that. More to come on that. But back to the Paris Auto Show. You guys may or may not know, we actually have someone going to the auto show for us. So as you can see, for those that are watching us, I just put on the screen, these are our passes to the Mondial de l'Auto in Paris. I probably just butchered that for the people who speak French, but those are our passes. Those are our press passes. And the individual who's going, his picture would actually be here. I've removed it for security purposes and went ahead and covered up the QR code. But that's what the ticket looks like for press. We did get a press pass. We probably could have got one or two others. But we had somebody reach out to us that really wanted to go to see the Fisker Ocean. And he might be actually watching right now. He's based out of Chicago. He's going to end up seeing that latest Fisker Ocean vehicle. His name's Glenn, and we're going to have him on the show after he comes back from Paris. He's going there on vacation. He's going to hang out with a friend, and he's going to check out the Fisker Ocean for us on November 17th. And he's going to provide us with photos and videos, or he's going to do his best to provide those. So we're super excited to see the Fisker Ocean photos and videos. It's going to be quite something. Now, Matt and Jim, do you think Fisker is going to answer every single question about the technology of the vehicle since it'll be there? Or do you think there's going to be some information they still keep close to their vest upwards to the start of production on November 17th? Do you think they're gonna keep something secret, like the battery size or all that type of stuff? Or do you think they're gonna spill the beans on Monday?
Yeah, I think they've kept it quiet this long. I think they're just going to hold out and wait. They might let a few little things slip through, but it's not going to be something that is extremely important that they're wanting to keep from their competitors.
Yeah, I agree. And in addition, I think when the configurator comes out, I think just by doing that, there's going to be more information, detail on the car that's going to be revealed. So I think between the configurator and the full-on production start date, that's when we're going to see everything. Hopefully everything.
Now, that is an exciting announcement that will come at some point. I did reach out to my contact at Fisker and ask them, I don't know, it was maybe 7 or 8 days ago, there was some chatter online saying that the configurator could have come out by the end of last week, I believe. That didn't happen. I didn't get a yes or a no. They said, hey, we'll look into it and let you know. I don't think the company is releasing the configurator until the end of the month. But that's my guess. There's still some people, hoping and maybe praying to get it sooner rather than later, but there's actually no rush. The company's already sold out of the Fisker Ocean 1. So it's not like people who are coming out, that are interested to pre-order or who have maybe even pre-ordered the Sport Ultra or Extreme. It's not like their vehicles are going into production right away. So I think the people who have their lock dates that were pushed back to, November timeframe, December timeframe, those people are probably the most interested, I would say, in figuring out what they have to do before their build expiration date comes. But I think everyone's just excited in general just to see, what the options are, how much things could potentially cost, assuming it actually has the prices of different options in the configurator. Do you guys think they're going to actually put the prices in there? Or are they going to punt that out to a later date maybe?
Oh, you mean like paint options and wheel options?
Like paint options or wheel options or tow package
I hope they put it in.
I would hope so too. I'm kind of envisioning like a mix between what Lucid offers, kind of that 3D, I'm up in the interior, this is what it looks like, with maybe what Tesla has in their configurator. Definitely not a 3D configurator, but they're so established and people have seen them everywhere. They don't need to probably have a 3D configurator, but they do list all the prices of all the upgrades of the paint, of the wheels, of the interior, which would be nice. That would be nice. Definitely a nice to have, I would say, other than just seeing a little bit more of what we've seen, with the existing configurator. So we know what the wheels look like, the paint, the interior. Seeing that in a 3D, configurator would be really cool, but it would be even better, probably more informative to have the actual prices and all the potential upgrades that somebody could select with their Fisker Ocean. That I think is probably the most exciting thing. One thing though, I don't think the configurator will include a lot of the over-the-air upgrades that people can do. I don't think those are going to be included in the configurator, but I could be wrong. It's just a guess. Like for example, we read an article a long time ago. I forgot what publication it was, but Henrik was explaining the OTA or the over-the-air business model, the subscription business model. And one example he used in that article was people with a Fisker Ocean Sport might not be able to move the steering wheel up and down without purchasing an over-the-air update. Whether that actually comes to fruition as an actual over-the-air update, who knows? But that was an example given in the article that was published probably a good six months ago or so. So I wouldn't imagine things like that. Like that's super granular details, I would think. I think this is going to be more of a high level configurator that we're supposed to get by the end of the month. Yeah.
In addition, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'd like to see what options you have on the Ultra that you can, that are coming from the Extreme that you don't get, and see what things you can upgrade your Ultra to. That'll be pretty interesting.
That will be.
I was going to say possibly for the Sport and Ultra, they may not give those options out, or especially the over-the-air ones, because those cars are not going to be able to be ordered for quite a while. Correct?
That's right. And they might want to change the pricing in the future. Wait.
No.
I know you want it now. I know.
Yeah, I think everybody wants it now. Steve said, "Hey, I'll just be happy with my taco tray." And Rosanna did a little emoji of a taco, which is quite fun. We ended up having Mexican food last night to celebrate the taco tray. So that was actually, I can't wait to see where that's going to go on the driver's side for the people that had the Ocean 1 or the Extreme. I can't even imagine where that's going to be, other than maybe under the steering wheel somehow, and how, where's it going to pop out? So that'll be quite interesting. The latest Fisker Ocean, the one thing that the interior is definitely one thing I want to see. I also hope that it is going to be an Extreme or an Ocean 1, because I'm actually kind of dying to see what is underneath the solar sky roof. Is there going to be a sunshade? Is there a retractable sunshade? is there something there that we haven't seen in the prototypes? Like, that's one thing that I am looking forward to, assuming we're able to get, interior footage, photos of the production intent vehicle there. That's a big one for me. Also, I haven't seen very good shots of the sun visors. It looked like in that video with the heat testing over in Death Valley that the sun visors looked like they could have been retractable. I don't know how that would work unless it has like a suction cup or something like that where you retract it and stick it to the front windshield, but maybe they just weren't included in those vehicles just because those are, for testing only. But a sunshade is something that is pretty handy when you're driving in the sun, especially when you're in Death Valley. So it just will be interesting to see what the interior, like you said, Matt, what that looks like. And then also too, with that production intent vehicle, one thing that I think Rosanna asked, and she's on here, that's why I bring her name up. She wanted to know, what does the space look like under the seat? The driver's seat, the passenger seat, what's the space? And Jim, you did a cool video of the Rivian earlier this week, and you showed off, at least to Matt and myself, you showed off some storage compartments on the seats on the Rivian, and that was kind of a cool idea because they also, you said, didn't have the glove box, and based on everything we've seen with the Fisker Ocean, prototypes, we haven't seen a glove box, at least in fully charged live San Diego, no glove box. But Fisker does have a really cool storage compartment in the center console in between the driver and passenger. So that was interesting. I don't think I'll put much there that'll blow around like my registration or my proof of insurance, my Chipotle napkins for those that are following along on our weekly calls. That's probably the most important thing aside from the registration and insurance. In my glove box is a stack of Chipotle napkins. Jim went ahead and actually shared this video here. We're going to throw it up on the screen for those that are watching us live. It is a video of a Fisker. Oh, I can see it actually. That was a blank screen, Jim. But that is, Jim was going to show us a video of the Rivian, and it is not there, a blank video. But yeah, we can check that out. It was a pretty cool, shot of the compartments. They look kind of like miniature glove boxes on I'm guessing that was the front part of the seat, Jim, on the Rivian?
Yeah, it was on the front part of the seat. Oh, it was showing it was there.
Let's try one more time.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it was showing it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's definitely not showing up here. Remember last time we had issues with the video?
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, last time the video, we had issues for the people who are following along here. We tried showing that heat testing video, and the only thing people could hear was the heat testing video. They couldn't actually hear us. So we're going to skip on videos tonight, it looks like. That's a bummer because that would have been a cool thing for people to see.
When you pulled it up, I could see it. I could see it on the screen when you pulled it up.
Could you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I was like, there it is.
Let's go ahead and try it. We'll give it a shot for the people watching. Here we go.
Yeah, that's right. I can see it.
See, I don't see it.
That's weird because I can see it. That's interesting. I wonder why.
Yeah, I see just a black screen. That's what I'm seeing.
I could see it. That's weird. I don't know why.
That's
I
all right.
See it,
for the people that are interested in that, head over to Jim's channel. He probably has that video over there.
No, I don't have it yet. Not yet. I haven't
yet.
done my.
That's a sneak peek. A sneak peek of the
I haven't done my Rivian videos yet.
Coming attractions. Yes.
Coming attraction. So yeah, Jim's doing a video, I guess, on the Rivian. I spilled the beans there, so that's something to look forward to. Now, for the people who haven't subscribed to OSR Garage or Tesla Tips by Matt Ranger or Fiskerati, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below the video that you're watching. And then also go ahead and hit the like button too. We greatly appreciate that. Now, back to Fisker Ocean over at the Paris Auto Show. Now, that event's happening 4 days. First day and I believe 2 days. For sure, the first day is nothing but the press. So I would expect we're going to see a lot of articles written about the Fisker Ocean this go around from the Paris Auto Show. We're going to end up writing an article. We'll probably get the photos and videos, the PM over in France, and they're 9 hours ahead of us. So we'll probably have an article up by midday on Monday for the people that read the Fiskerati site. You'll see the article there, and whatever photos and videos we get, we'll go ahead and include those, and we'll probably talk about them next week if there's something interesting to see. Another thing that I know a lot of people are interested in are what the final gear stocks, if that's the right terminology, are going to look like that are next to the steering wheel. I've seen a lot of chatter about that online, and whether or not those are going to end up remaining the same as what we've seen in the prototype. So that's going to be something interesting to see. It'll be also interesting to see what the buttons look like underneath that 17.1 inch display. Are they, it should be real buttons, right? Real functioning buttons. The question is it going to be able to control anything in the car? Will the car actually be running, in essence, where you would be able to turn on and off things controlled by those buttons? Probably not. But one thing we did hear from Henrik Fisker was they're going to end up having a teaser of the user interface, the UI. So what do you guys think that's going to be? What's the teaser? Like we're 36 days away from the start of production. Now, granted, Fisker probably wants the UI more or less buttoned up in a really good place in order to have analysts and journalists test drive it the first or second week, whatever that is, in November, say the beginning of November. But for this teaser, is it going to be like a video where people are going to be able to, just watch a video play on the 17.1 inch display, or is it going to actually be, here is, the radio buttons. Here's the entertainment section of the UI, maybe similar to what Henrik shared with us on Instagram a while back. And he deleted that video, or that short video clip of him testing the UI. So will we see something like that? What do you guys think we're going to see? Have any ideas, any guesses?
I want to say the driver info screen is probably all done. The one directly in front of the steering wheel. I'm sure that's 100%. They're ready to present that. But I don't know with the Android Automotive on the main screen if it's going to be just in a demo mode, or maybe, like you said, showing the entertainment, infotainment options, like your Spotify, streaming and all that, or maybe just the navigation will be up. That would be nice to see, because we haven't seen anything indicating what the navigation would look like. So that's something I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, now we did see just a brief, we haven't seen what the real navigation looks like, but we did get a photo in an investor presentation. I don't know.
That was a mock-up, I think.
Definitely a mock-up. Where you have, the main navigation on the far left-hand side, and then you end up having what appeared to be, the sensors on the vehicle and kind of like the 360-degree cameras, where the vehicle is and amongst all the cars around it, directly at the top of the vehicle or the screen. Followed by, a whole, music player at the bottom, and that was a cool mock-up. But you're right, it's probably a mock-up. It wasn't the real deal. What about you, Jim? You have any ideas on what the UI teaser could potentially be, or what they'll show off?
I would think they're probably going to show the vehicle functions. Like, it'll be a picture of the vehicle. It's not going to show like the battery and stuff like that, but it might show something like with the torque vectoring and how it might just have a still photo of the car and show like how the power goes from wheel to wheel and front to back. I don't know. So I think if they're going to try to keep things quiet, it's going to be something. If they're going to show something, it might be something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, if you're not going to spill the beans about the actual tech, you're not going to show much of the tech that would potentially be on the display. So yeah, that's interesting. But I think you're right, Matt. The actual instrument panel that's in front of the steering wheel, what we saw on that latest test drive at Magna with Henrik Fisker behind the wheel, that looked pretty complete. But if you're sitting behind the wheel indoors, with the car in park, I don't even know how much of that's going to light up. Maybe they have, like they did over in San Diego, they have some way of controlling something under the hood to have, like they do the Fisker Ocean 17.1 inch display. Like they had that on the whole time saying like Fisker Ocean. Maybe there's a way for them to programmatically display what would be on that instrument panel. I would have to imagine so. They didn't just, with all the pressure that they've been under with investors or stockholders, shareholders, release details. That's kind of what the word on the street is. That people want details. I think people wanted details for quite a long time, but for this vehicle, the production intent vehicle, I think this was long planned. It's not something they can just on the whim, like, hey, we're going to bring a Fisker Ocean production intent vehicle to the Paris Auto Show. I think this was methodically planned, and they're going to make sure that whatever's on the UI or the instrument panel is dialed in for the press primarily, who are going to write up articles on Monday. Yeah. So some people said in the chat, they want to know, let's see here. We need to see things like EPA mileage specs, unbiased reviews. Yeah, that's something definitely we need. I don't think we're going to see EPA ratings or mileage and things like that until the vehicle's actually on the road. I think that comes from third parties and stuff. So that's unlikely to show up next week. Lighting and different colors. Yeah, we do know that the Fisker Ocean 1 and Extreme are going to have some sort of like ambient lighting. We don't know if that's going to be, clear light or white light, or if it's going to, be, I don't know, a teal. Teal's kind of the theme through the vehicle. I don't know if I would like a teal ambient lighting, but that would be interesting. That would be neat to see. Yeah.
So Victor, I think it was Victor made a point about the battery specs to decide on what the best EV charger would be, and that does make sense. I just and I'm not to try to go off on the Rivian and go off topic. I'm trying to stay on topic, but comparing the ID4 with the Rivian when we used our charger, this is how different it was, because it also matters on your efficiency. Because the ID4 plugging in on a 16 amp would pull 12 miles per hour. That same thing plugged into the Rivian only pulled 6 or 7 miles per hour. And it's based off of the efficiency of the vehicle. Now, the Rivian also has a 135 kilowatt hour battery, and the ID4 has an 82. So depending on the battery size, you're going to want to get something higher so you can charge faster. And just so everybody knows, just because you're charging faster doesn't mean you're charging with any more power. You're not using any more electricity, than you would if you had a smaller one and were charging longer. It's going to be the same amount of kilowatt hour either way. It's just going to be at a faster time. So, sure, Matt probably knows a lot about that.
We're gonna jump right in here in just a few minutes to charging at CCS locations, and Matt will probably drop a bunch of knowledge bombs on everybody. He had a really cool video I watched. I think it was last night or the night before while I was cooking. I think it might have been last night while I was making tacos. So in salute of the Fisker Ocean 1 and Extreme taco tray. So that was a pretty cool video.
A lot of the EA chargers too.
Yeah, Electrify America. I think that, and
I've been using those since December.
Oh wow, It'd be good to hear your take on it too. There's so many things from that production intent vehicle that we want to see. I think it would be cool to see a different paint color at the Paris Auto Show than Big Sur Blue, or maybe seeing the Mariana there. That would be actually pretty cool to see photos of that. Maybe even a white, great white Fisker Ocean or a night drive. We have seen so many vehicles. Supposedly there's we're going to have 23 off the line this week. There's been, I think, 40 or 45 that were actually built since the last earnings call in August 3rd. So there's a lot of vehicles that I'm sure the company can select to have at the actual event, but the likelihood it's going to be one that has most recently rolled off that Fisker, the Magnastera, high volume assembly line. We talked about some of the things that we want to see there. There's so many. I'm still dying to see what the actual final stereo system looks like. Where the speakers are. That one's a big one to me. I love listening to music in the car. I don't know too many people that don't like listening to music or some form of audio in the car, whether it be a podcast like the All-Things Fisker podcast, right? Like, people will soon be able to listen to that in their car. This high quality show, right, gentlemen? People will be able to listen to it in their car. For those that can't see me, I was laughing there, but we have a good time doing this, and that's all that matters. So Monday, stay tuned. We'll get more information. We'll share it with everybody. We'll talk about it and discuss it next week. Now, one of the fun things that I think for everybody that's on this call, watching, listening, is the Fisker Ocean USA Road Tour. Fisker announced, sometime over the weekend, I think it might have been Saturday, they announced that they are bringing the Fisker Ocean to Seattle. They're bringing it to Houston, Austin, Texas, as well as Dallas, Texas. So they're bringing it to the Lone Star State. They're bringing it to the Pacific Northwest. That's pretty exciting, I think. I was actually super excited to see that. What was your guys' first thoughts on that? Like, hey, they're not going to the East Coast. I
know, not close enough.
I thought they were going to drive it down from, they were already had some Fisker Ocean over in Brooklyn. I thought, hey, easy, just drive it down south, down to Florida, and you'll please a lot of people. No, they thought, hey, we're going to the Pacific Northwest, and then somehow we're going to transport it to Texas. Whether it be them driving it, unlikely, but them taking it by trailer or something like that. That I think is kind of interesting. What did you guys? You're like, they're doing a tour, but it's not coming to the Midwest or to the, I guess I should say, the north part of the Midwest, the central part where you are, Jim, the Chicago, Illinois area. They're bringing it down to Texas.
Nice.
Were you bummed out there?
Yeah, I would have liked to at least been somewhat closer. I mean, at least if it was a few states, then maybe I might make a 6-hour trip or something to go see it, but I'm not gonna make a 14-hour trip.
A 14-hour trip is quite long. Now
Done it, and it's not fun.
That's not fun driving that way. But I enjoy road trips, and in fact, my family is headed to Walt Disney World. We're going to go on a Disney cruise. Hey, there's Mickey Mouse. I just noticed that. Thanks for showing me. Matt's wearing a Mickey Mouse logo on his shirt. I love Disney, and also a shareholder in Disney. Love Disney. Always love Disney. Great company, iconic company, and we're actually driving from San Diego to Orlando, Florida. We don't know which way we're going to go yet, but seeing this on the weekend, over the weekend, this Fisker Ocean Road Tour, I was like, wow, maybe we have an opportunity to see the Fisker Ocean again in Texas. So it's going to be starting off in Seattle, Washington, October 22nd through 23rd at the Seattle Center. And the Seattle Center, for those people who've never been to Seattle, I lived up there for about a year and change when I worked at Amazon. And that place is so much fun. There's so much to do at the Seattle Center. You have the Space Needle right nearby. You have the Dale Chihuly blown glass exhibit. Now, if you guys don't know who Dale Chihuly is, you can Google it. He's like a master at his craft of blowing glass, and the amount of blown glass that's in that exhibit is just phenomenal. And many people, if they've gone to the Bellagio and looked up at the check-in reception area at the roof, all that blown glass is from Dale Chihuly. Yeah, it's beautiful, and there's a whole exhibit of it, and I saw it there maybe 5 or 6 years, probably closer to 7 years ago now, and it was beautiful then, and it's so popular, it's still there to this day. So if you go check out the work of art called the Fisker Ocean, and you have extra time to kill, it's probably worth the $20 or $25, whatever they charge these days, to go to the Chihuly Center. Check that out. Check out the gardens up there. Beautiful places. And then there's obviously lots to see in Seattle for those that are coming from out of town. So check that out. If you want other recommendations, I'm happy to give them to you. I've walked the whole city a half a dozen times by myself and with my wife. We've had a great time. Beautiful place. The Fisker Ocean then leaves Seattle, Washington on October 23rd and heads over to Houston, Texas, which, don't forget, everybody, that was one of the 10 places that Fisker had chosen to have a Fisker Ocean, what they called at the time an experience center, now called the Fisker Lounge. That was in the 2020 investor presentation, when the company was out there going public, so through a SPAC. So that was listed as one of the locations. That's where the Fisker Ocean is heading next, October 29th through 30th at the Post Houston. Now that, I'm not familiar with the Post Houston. If anyone who's watching along is, let us know what you think about it in the chat. But the Post Houston, from what I gathered, it looked kind of like a big shopping center, very grand architecture. It looked really, really neat. So that looked like a fun place to hang out, other than just maybe looking at the Fisker Ocean. And then it moves over to Austin, Texas. Now that's the location we're probably going to see the Fisker Ocean. Dallas, Texas is a little bit too far north of our path that we're taking from San Diego to Orlando. So we'll likely see the Fisker Ocean in Austin, Texas, November 2nd through 3rd at Hotel San Jose, and I believe that's in downtown Austin. And I ended up going to the forums and posted this, and I mentioned that I love barbecue, and I think I've probably talked about barbecue and eating ribs in Palm Springs a number of times at a place called Babes. Now, I got a recommendation as well from one of our members of the Fiskerati forums to go check out for barbecue in Austin, Texas. If you guys have a good barbecue place, if you've been to Austin, Texas, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments during this chat. And then after Austin, Fisker Ocean headed to Dallas, Texas, like I mentioned, November 5th and 6th at the Clyde Warren Park. Never heard of it. I didn't even Google that one. That one seemed pretty self-explanatory. It's a park. I'm going to go with there's green grass. Maybe it's brown, not sure. But there's definitely, it's definitely a park from the sound of it. That's in the title. So those are your 4 locations of the latest leg of the Fisker Ocean Road Tour. The Fisker Ocean's now, it's going to have gone to, 7 different cities in the United States. We had, aside from LA, of course, we had Pebble Beach, we had San Diego, we had, we're going to have Brooklyn. We had Brooklyn. We're going to have Seattle, Houston, Austin, and Dallas. So 7 cities, big cities. Still waiting for the East Coast. When do you guys think the East Coast is coming? Any guesses?
I assume it'll be before the Midwest.
Could be before the Midwest. I think there's a lot of people on the East Coast, and primarily we've already been to New York. They had a great turnout in Brooklyn. I know there's a lot of people in Boston, Massachusetts that are interested in the Fisker Ocean. Clearly, there's a lot of people in North Carolina. Now, what city would you bring the Fisker Ocean to, Matt, in your neck of the woods for North Carolina? Would it be Charlotte, or where would it be?
To be totally self-serving, I would pick Raleigh because we're the center of the state.
Yeah.
Kind of center in a way because we're between Charlotte and Wilmington, kind of in the middle. Charlotte is the slightly bigger city, so.
Charlotte, okay, but being self-serving, you want to see Raleigh.
I would
Raleigh's
say
a good
Raleigh,
choice.
yeah.
Maybe they could do both. That wouldn't be how far. I don't have a map in front of me. How
A couple
much of a
hours.
drive is it?
2 hour drive.
Hours. So possible, right? If they are doing 3, it's odd, but maybe not. Maybe they know there's a lot of reservation holders in Austin, Dallas, and Houston. Maybe they're doing all 3. That seems like a lot. Seattle was good. I would have started the tour in California and drove it up the coast all the way to Seattle. That would be me. I've driven
PCH.
before. Yeah, go to PCH. They could have done San Francisco. They could have Sacramento. There's a lot of places. Santa Barbara. They've already I take that back. They brought the Fisker Ocean to Santa Barbara too, I believe. So that would have made 8 cities. That was on Earth Day. So the Fisker Ocean going up the coast would have been probably a more of a road tour, and probably to me more logical than going just straight from Seattle, Washington, all the way down to Texas. Now, if for the people who saw the map that I put on, or the photo or the image that Fisker shared with that announcement, they did plot a orange line on a map of the United States, and that orange line happens to go down the most popular interstate that runs through Salt Lake City and actually goes east to Denver. Not saying that the company is going to stop in Salt Lake City or Denver, but be on the lookout. You might find it there. That would be pretty cool if you do. Share your photos and videos with us. We'd love to feature them on the site. That'd be actually kind of neat. So check that out. That would be pretty cool. You can wave to it as it's going by. if you know how to calculate, the exact mileage and speed and the rate at which they're traveling, all those fun math calculations, you might be able to figure out when they're going to get to Salt Lake City, or an approximate, assuming when they leave Seattle, of course. So that's kind of what we have there. I did see a question in the chat. Do we have the exact addresses of the locations? And yes, Fisker actually did post the addresses. Let me see if I can pull them up here real quick, and I'll paste them in the chat if I can do it quick here. If you go for sure over to their Instagram account, in one of their posts, they did list all the addresses of the 4 locations. The Seattle Center, that one's pretty obvious, I would say. But here we go. They are going to be in Seattle. It says 305 Harrison Street. I'm going to go ahead and paste this into the chat for the people who are watching, but I'm going to just read them off real quick for the people who are listening in. So Seattle, Washington, you're going to be at the Seattle Center, 305 Harrison Street, Seattle, Washington. In Houston, Texas, they're going to be at 401 Franklin Street, and that's Houston, Texas. They're going to be in Austin, Texas, 1316 South Congress Avenue, Austin, Texas. And then in Dallas, they're going to be 2012 Woodall Rogers Freeway, I'm guessing, Dallas, Texas. So I'll paste those into the chat here for the people who asked for it. Let's see here if it will let me post it. So I'm going to have to do them one by one. Lovely. Okay, so here we go. There you go. There is the first one for y'all in the chat, and that's my southern y'all for everybody, for the people in Texas, because I always hear my friends say y'all when I talk to them when they're from Texas. So there you go, y'all. So there's the addresses in the chat for the people that are there. For those that are rewatching it, you can look at the live chat replay and check it out. And I did announce people who are listening in on the podcast. So let's the road tour. I wanted to see them go to the East Coast next, but maybe that'll be next before the Midwest and you, Jim, up in good old Illinois. So that brings us along to charging. So when we go we're going to be driving an electric vehicle too, right? When we go cross country to Walt Disney World, and what we were planning to do was to use our, use with the Tesla Model 3, we were planning to use all of the Tesla, supercharging stations to get that fast charge and be on our way. And when I plotted that on the map, we ended up seeing, I think it was like 50, they had us going to like 15 stops from here all the way to Orlando. And instead of charging what I would typically do, charge for like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, to try to get close to a near 100% charge when I'm out on the road. They wanted us to just stay at the actual charging station for 15 minutes sometimes, 25 minutes sometimes. At most, it was 45 minutes. Now, I don't know why they're doing that, and I see both Jim and Matt shaking their head yes. Could you explain why Tesla doing a cross-country trip? Like, I have one idea. I'm going to say my idea. You tell me if it's wrong. I know it's probably wrong, but they want to keep the charging stations not as full. Like if I were to go there for, say, an hour and a half and charge it. Oh, Jim's shaking his head no. I was thinking maybe they want to keep them, freer, if that's even a word, more free by having me charge less. And going to more frequent ones, but I'm getting all sorts of weird looks from both Jim and Matt. Why do they make me stop 15 times, anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes? Let's hear it.
I'll start. It's fastest when you're at a low state of charge. So if you arrive at a supercharger with, say, 5 or 10% of your battery pack, and then charge up to, say, 60%, that could take like 10 minutes. I've done many times where I've had stops on my trips that are 10 to 15 minutes long. And by doing that, you'll get to your next charger at a low rate also, you fill up. But the idea is you save probably half the time traveling, because if you stayed and charged up to 100%, you're going to spend on a trip like that hours and hours and hours charging. By just doing the bottom half or the bottom 70%, it's so much quicker. It's the same for CCS as for supercharging.
And that happens to be our next topic, everybody, is charging at CCS locations. What an intro. There you go, everybody. So Matt actually did a really cool video. I referenced it earlier. You can go over to his Tesla Tips by Mountain Ranger. He actually did some sort of what looked like I don't know what the right word is, but like a retrofit or something he can explain to us, where he made his car eligible to be able to use CCS locations to charge his vehicle. Go on and tell us all about your experience.
Sure. All the newer Teslas support CCS, so the 2021 and up support it right out of the box.
Okay.
You just need an adapter and you're good to go. Mine is an older 2018 model, and I had to change out the ECU for the charging port and a cable. So kind of a DIY thing that Tesla is not going to be doing officially till I'm guessing sometime next year, probably spring. But they are going to offer it at some point. I wanted to show, I have a couple of adapters, and everybody recognizes the J1772. If you have a anything that's non Tesla, this is what you use for AC charging, and then the other end goes into the Tesla port. So this is what we use when we go to any AC charging, level 2 charging. Now, what I got now is the DC version of it, and if you look,
that's huge.
And if you notice, and I'll try to be descriptive for the podcast, is the J1772 AC is round. If you notice, the round part on this adapter matches it. So that's why you can use the same port for two different cables. So if you're going to just regular L2, you can use this. And if you go DC fast charging, use this. And this is what Jim does for his ID4. This is the type of plug that goes in the car, and this is what the Ocean is going to have. So basically, this will go into the Tesla, and then you just put the port at the station into this. Now, one of the comments I wanted to say is I did a speed test near my house, and luckily I have a brand new EVgo charging setup with 4 stations, and one of them is 350 kilowatts, which is currently the fastest that you can get in the US. And if you can get those, and that's what you want to use when you're traveling long distance trips to get the fastest speed. Even though the car may not support, say my car gets about 200 kilowatts out of this, 200 to 250, but you need that 350 so it gets at least that amount to the car. Now, one thing I want to mention is for CCS, there's all different levels of speeds. They can be as low as 50 kilowatts when they first came out. That was the same as CHAdeMO, which everybody remembers on the Leaf had the giant connector. That was also 50 kilowatts. But there's also, I think I've seen 67, 100, and also 150 kilowatts. So there's all different, depending on the stop of the location and the provider too, because some providers only do certain speeds. And for example, Electrify America does almost all their stations are 150 kilowatts, and then a few of them are 350. So if you go to a bank of 6 of them, there may be, most of them are the 150, and they may have 1 or 2 of the 350. But I noticed they are expanding that for vehicles that can support that now. And that's going to be true going on, like the Fisker Ocean, and some of the other new cars are going to support hopefully 250 kilowatts or more charging. It's going to be nice to see the more high-powered chargers available. So that's basically what I want to show today is the size of the adapters for the car.
And then how does that bigger adapter, does that just easily click in to the charging port on the Tesla, or do you have to press a button to click it in and out, or?
You just plug it in, and then when it's done charging, on the Tesla screen, there's a unlock port button or stop charging. You press that, and then you can pull the whole thing out, and then you separate it. So,
got it.
So it's pretty easy.
Very cool. That is neat.
The one thing I was going to add to that is that some people don't know is you only need to use the charger for the power that your car will accept. So if you can only, like you have an ID4 and you can only pull 125 kilowatt, you just go to a 150. You don't go to a 350 because the 350 is not going to be any faster. You're still only going to pull 125 kilowatts because that's the most you can pull. But if you have a car that can pull over 150 kilowatts, then you want to use the 350.
Yeah. The new Audis, Porsche, I'm guessing also the Rivian and Lucid, all those support very high charging rates.
Hyundai's.
And I think also Hyundai Kia too.
Yeah. That.
Now
EGMP.
Now you did that on your car, Matt, so that you could try to do a road trip with nothing but CCS chargers. Is that right?
Yes, that's something I'm planning to do. Is if I'm going on a trip where speed is not of the essence, I'm planning on trying to do the whole trip just using the CCS network. Either in my area on the East Coast, it's Electrify America and EVgo are the 2 big names that I've seen. There's some other ones. There was one called Green Lots, but now that's owned by Shell. And I don't think Blink is in our area. And there's some other ones on the West Coast that we don't have here.
Yeah. Now here's a question for you guys. So I think I'm still going to probably stick, just real quick, I think I'm going to stick to the Tesla superchargers just because it's more convenient. It's connected to the car. It just makes more sense versus trying to just go using the CCS chargers. I think that might add just extra hiccup and frustration that probably don't want to experience on vacation. But who knows? Maybe I'll have a change of heart. Maybe I'll try one out.
Yeah, if it's just me driving and nobody else is relying on me, so I don't care. Right. And it's okay. A test, and it's what they call content, right?
Oh, there you go. There you go. For the channel, right? For the channel. So here's a question for you. You mentioned something that sparked an idea in my head. You were talking about Shell, I'm guessing the gas company, right? The company that has gas stations, oil refineries, etc. So you mentioned that they actually have an investment, or they own, or they are affiliated.
Yeah, they bought one of them. Yeah,
they bought with them. So that's a question I wonder. And we have so many gas stations everywhere, right? And at what point, and maybe it's already happening on the East Coast, I haven't seen any of it here. Do you think there's a point in time, and at what point in time do the Shells of the world, the Mobiles, the Exxons, I guess that's the same company, Mobil Exxon, the Chevrons, AMPMs, whatever you guys have for gas, when do they start supporting charging stations? When are they going to have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole bank of them? Is that, do you think, in the near future, is that going to be a part of maybe that EV infrastructure plan that we saw with some of those states or nationwide with the Department of Transportation? Do you think at some point here in the next few years, we're going to see a bunch of charging stations at our local gas stations?
Yeah, I've actually seen it on the East Coast. Tesla has already had a contract with Sheetz, is a chain of gas stations, and also Wawa. They're both Pennsylvania gas station chains, and they're all on the whole East Coast now. They all go from Florida up to New England. And I've done a trip to New York from North Carolina, just stopping at Sheetz gas stations, and they
have great sandwiches, don't they, at Sheetz?
Good sandwiches, breakfast. You can just sit in their restaurant or outside. It's a great place to stop because it's 24/7. I think it's great having the chargers there than just in a shopping center that if you hit it at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, everything's closed. That's not so great. So I also have some info about, I think it's EVgo has a contract with, I think it's Pilot and Flying J, the two, it's actually, I guess, one company they make large truck stops that are all around the country. So they're going to be installing thousands of CCS stations at these truck stops all around on the interstates. I think those are great because those are also open 24/7, and they tend to be very large. And you can put a whole bank of chargers and not worry about people with their ICE cars parking in front of them because they usually have hundreds of parking spots. So I think when that starts rolling out, that's going to be super. I think that's going to be great for interstate long distance.
Yeah, GM is part of that also.
Yep.
And then Chevron is working with somebody. I've had it in one of my notes that I'm trying to find right now, but they are working with someone too that they will be having having chargers installed there also. And this is all separate from the national thing that's going on also. The national one is going to be the national one is going to be more like your rest stops because they're wanting them like 50 miles apart. So that's going to be, but the thing with that is they only have to be 150 kilowatts. They don't have to be any higher than that, which is fine if you got one every 50 miles, and that's not going to be a problem. So if I find those notes, I'll let you know.
Got it. So on the East Coast, when we do our road trip, Wawa and Sheetz, those are the two locations that I need to keep an eye out for. And I'm guessing those show up on probably a route planner, right? I'm guessing in the Tesla or on PlugShare or something like that.
Yeah. Also, Electrify America has a contract with Walmart. So a lot of the EAs are at Walmart shopping centers.
And Target.
In our town, we have one at Target, and then the other part of town, they have one at Walmart.
So I found that other information. It's FreeWire Technologies. They have a battery integrated EV charging equipment that they are branded with Chevron and Texaco. So those will be start seeing those also. And they actually have a battery pack backup inside of the charging units. So it will charge the battery pack up, and that way when it's charging, it'll disperse from the battery pack, and then it will start to pull energy. So it's actually will be pulling less energy from the grid because it'll be using the battery pack more often than not.
Got it. That's pretty cool. And that actually brings us to something else interesting. We talk about Wawa, we talk about Sheets. I didn't know you were going to mention those, Matt, but that brings us to Fisker's Starbucks post. What does that have to do with EV charging? I'll tell you what it has to do with EV charging. I don't know why they posted it, but earlier in this week, they posted this message here on social media. They posted it on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and they ended up getting quite a bit of outrage from their followers who are shareholders, who are reservation holders, people who pre-ordered the Fisker Ocean 1. I thought it was lighthearted fun, as did a lot of other people. It had, this particular post is that I'm showing on the screen for those people that can't read it. It actually says, on our way to Starbucks at 9:17 when our first meeting started at 9, #Mondays. They do an emoji of a coffee cup with the sun and the ocean. Kind of fun, playful. It was on, I believe, a Monday. So I thought, hey, that's actually kind of funny. And it has a Fisker Ocean from their one of the original photo shoots where the car's, blazing with through like the sandy ground or the dirt ground with like dust being picked up, showing that the vehicle's, cruising at a high speed. So I thought it was kind of cute, kind of funny. So did a lot of other people, but there was a subset of followers who were just irate about this. And people need to lighten up a little, right? Geez, it's a social media post. And I find it actually kind of sad that people harped on the company so much for this, because it made some sort of a, who knows how busy they were today at Fisker, but there was, Fisker usually does a social media post every single day. Fisker Inc. I'm talking about. Today, up into this show, I haven't checked, over the last hour or so, but there was no posts from Fisker today. People were saying, we only want you to post things that have substance, things that actually tell about the vehicle. And it's like, lighten up, people. That, you're not in charge of the company. Even if you're a shareholder, you have absolutely no say. Maybe your vote, but lighten up. Let the company have fun. Let them continue to engage people, whether you like their marketing or not. I think it's fun. I think it's on point with the brand. They're just trying to get the word out there, keep people engaged. And they did a post yesterday which was all about the solar sky roof, and it was a drastically different post than what they normally do. And then today they didn't do a post, so I feel a little bit sorry for the person who did the post. Like, they shouldn't have keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Don't worry about all the people who freaked out on you and influenced you to change your post. Now, the company changed this post after all that feedback, and they basically ended up just saying, on our way to emoji coffee cup. It was a coffee cup emoticon, and it's like, oh my god, like, people, give it up. Fisker's going to be at in Seattle later this month. Maybe there's a connection there with Starbucks. Now, I ended up thinking, why did they post Starbucks? Is there something more there? And I found this article here. So I'm sharing on the screen. There's an article. It's actually a post, a Starbucks story that they did. And it says, find an EV charger at Starbucks stores from Seattle to Denver. It was a partnership that was announced earlier this year with Volvo and ChargePoint. Granted, Fisker doesn't have, a partnership with Volvo, or maybe with ChargePoint, or maybe not even Starbucks. Maybe just the people that, people can connect and relate to Starbucks and, wanting to get a coffee and all that fun stuff. But I thought this article was interesting. They actually have a map, and on the map, it actually happens to be the same path that Fisker's taking to, or what appears to be the same path that is on the image that Fisker shared with their announcement of going to Seattle, Houston, Dallas, and Austin. So I thought that was interesting. There's chargers that go all the way from Seattle, from the Starbucks Support Center, all the way down to in Utah to Salt Lake City, and then it cuts all the way over to Denver. That happens to be what appears to look like the same exact path on that image they shared, with the orange line, going all through the United States. And then obviously the path continues in the image Fisker shared all the way down from Denver to Texas. But I thought that was interesting. It was actually quite neat. They're going to end up having chargers all the way there. They say it's one of the most scenic drives ever. And I've never done that drive. But it looks, I went on Google Maps and kind of went through it, and it actually looked quite beautiful. So maybe there's a connection there. Maybe there isn't. Maybe the person was just having fun. Regardless of whether or not the stock is at an all-time low or not, lighten up. And that's our next topic for those that can't see the screen here. That's Fisker stock at an all-time low, right? Wah, wah, wah. It's a bummer. It is a bummer. It's not something to be happy about. But what I wanted to talk about today is, it is at an all-time low. But I think a lot of people who are Fisker shareholders, at least on the forums where people talk about nothing but stocks, who are just focused on Fisker, maybe they have their blinders on, but like, the stock is following the market. If you put a chart up of the S&P or the NASDAQ or even the Dow, even though it's not a part of that, but if you put the two charts together and you look at them, they're, granted, Fisker's down a lot further. It has, more alpha. It moves quicker at a higher rate of percentage change than, the average stock. So instead of the market being down, 25% on average, the three indices, it's down 50+%. But it's a tech stock at the end of the day. It's really an automotive stock, right? But it's kind of goes into the tech realm, if you will, being an EV car company, and people look at it like Tesla's a car company. They're an automotive company, but Fisker kind of is, I would say is an automotive company at the end of the day. And in fact, one thing that I noticed, I'm going to actually pull up on the screen. There's actually, Fisker was added for those that use Yahoo Finance. You'll probably recently known that Fisker was added to their automotive watch list. So anytime somebody goes to Tesla, as an example, at the top of the screen, whether you're on your, if you're on your phone, that's how I first found it out. But if you go into the, if you tap on the automotive section, I'm going to share on the screen here, you end up in this watch list right here. It actually is the auto manufacturers list, and Fisker has been included on this. The companies that are on here are, I'm going to actually sort it by market cap, because that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. So Tesla's at the top of the list. Market cap $701 billion as of today's close. You have Toyota, GM, Ford, Stellantis, Honda Motor Company, Ferrari, Rivian, NIO, Lucid, Li Auto, Tata Motors, XPeng, Fisker, and Livewire. Now, I don't know why they added Livewire. That's more of like electrical, bikes, electrical motorcycles, but that was just added. They just from Harley, right?
Harley Davidson. Yeah.
But it's more of like motorcycles. I didn't think that's a car manufacturer, but somehow they got added to the list. But I was actually impressed that Fisker got added to the list. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting, if I were to pull up any one of these, I'll go up and pull, I'm going to pull up the worst one. I think it's either probably Li Auto, NIO, or XPeng. I can't remember which one it was. I'm going to go with XPeng. It's an Asian automotive company, and if we click into the chart and go to the year chart, this particular stock's down 81.3%. So, this particular stock, and it doesn't matter if we were to go and put in NEO into the chart, that one down, I think is down like 60 something percent. Yeah, 59.34%. So, if you're a legacy automotive company like GM, they also are down 45% year to date. That's a very well established company. They're no startup, right? Same with Ford Motor Company. So that's down 44.44% on the year. So what I'm trying to get at is a lot of the companies in this space, if not all the companies in this space, are down drastically. And it's no different if you were to take your blinders off for the people that invest in stocks. Granted, I still own a bunch of Fisker stock. I only hold it right now in my IRA. I did sell some, and I announced that to Fiskerati Forum Club members on Friday, right after I sold some shares. I didn't sell all my shares. I sold some just to free up some cash so that I can pay for my Fisker Ocean when I'm able to, eventually take delivery of that, whether it be this year or next year. So I wanted to free up some cash for that. I also wanted to have some additional cash in the event the stock continues to go down. Now we have, if you guys want to in the chat, I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear if you, Jim or Matt, have any thoughts whatsoever before I share the next thing. The reason why I sold some of my Fisker stock, and I have a lot still, the reason was I wanted to buy some of my dividend stocks. I wanted to average down on those, do some dollar cost averaging, because those two are down, 15 to 25%. They aren't as, they don't move as quickly as some of these tech stocks like Facebook as an example, or Meta. That's down 60% year to date. You name the tech company, it's down, anywhere from 25% upwards to 80%. So it's not a Fisker thing, is what I wanted to get across. It's not a EV thing. It's not just an automotive thing. It's actually a market thing. The stock market as a whole. So if we go up and pull the diamond, the spider, Dow Jones industrial average. The Dow Jones, granted, that's down 19.55%. We're going to do the SPY, the S&P Spider. That's down 24.93%. And then the whopper here is the QQQs, the Qs. That's down 30-something percent. What is it today? 33.98%. So it's not just a Fisker thing. It's not just an automotive thing. Everybody that invest in the stock market, you have to have patience. You have to be willing to lose money. That's how investments work. They don't always work out. And that's kind of what's happening right now with rising inflation. Inflation is more or less out of control. And the Federal Reserve here in the United States is trying to get that under control. And if you look at the headlines, so I pulled this up earlier today. And all the headlines changed from earlier, but basically we're waiting for tomorrow. The one key data point that I want to see, and it says right here, 32 minutes ago, Asian equities slip ahead of key U.S. consumer price index, that'd be CPI data, that's going to be released tomorrow. So the market's going to decide which way it's going. Tomorrow, we're going to either see a further fall in all stocks, not just Fisker, but all stocks, or we're going to see some sort of level off. And, we have the new normal. The CPI data that's released tomorrow will tell us, has the Federal Reserve, by raising interest rates and, doing other adjustments to, bonds, will they be getting inflation under control, or is it still out of control? So any number, I believe the inflation rate right now, it's around 8.3%, 8.2%. The three articles that I read today, anything greater than 8.2, 8.3 will likely see a sell-off of the entire market. One of the articles I read earlier today, JP Morgan is estimating somewhere of a 5% decrease in the market. However, if the CPI data tomorrow comes in better than expected, so below the 8.2, 8.3. If it comes in at 7.9, 7.8, that means the Federal Reserve's doing a great job at raising interest rates. The market should rally. That would mean Fisker stock, the automotive stocks, the EV stocks, tech stocks, basically every stock will rally. So tomorrow is a very big determining factor. If the market goes down tomorrow, I'm going to end up waiting 3 weeks after the start of production of the Fisker Ocean, and I'm going to then at that point start dollar cost averaging in all of the stocks that I own. Not that everybody should do that, not that I'm giving advice, but I'm just saying this is what I'm doing. With that money I freed up last week, I'm going to end up buying some more of my stocks. So that's what I think is kind of the read. That's kind of why everybody's been freaking out. They don't know what's going to happen in the market. There's somebody who I follow on Twitter. He's on CNBC all the time. He's on financial channels like Bloomberg all the time. His name is Ross Gerber. I actually reached out to him today. He's a big Apple investor with Gerber Kawasaki and all of his clients. He's also a big Tesla investor. And he actually ended up having a couple good posts that he did earlier in the week. And he also is waiting to see kind of what happens tomorrow with the CPI data before putting any additional capital to work. And his time frame that he's giving his clients is around the first week of November is when he thinks will be out of the woods in this. So whether you're in a tech stock or a non-tech stock, an industrial stock, he thinks early November, that's when the market will have bottomed, whatever that looks like. We all can kind of just sit back and kind of see what happens. But that's somebody who I trust. I follow them quite often on all their social media. You can go check his tweets out. I'll go ahead and post online here his profile, and everybody can go check it out if you want. But he's got some really cool information in his Twitter feed. Oh, that's the wrong account. Sorry about that. Missing the I there. There we go. So yeah, you can check that out. But he's saying that market's going to bottom first week or so of November. I'm going to try to get him on next week's show to give us his insight on not just the automotive space, but specifically EV stocks. I'd love to hear his thoughts on Tesla. As most everybody knows, Tesla's like the juggernaut in the space, in the automotive space, let alone EV space. And all the stocks, usually when Tesla falls, all of the automotive and EV stocks fall. Just like when Tesla goes up, usually a lot of the automotive and EV stocks follow. So they kind of dictate the movement of the space. So I'm going to try to get him on next week's show or a future show, and we'll hear it directly from him. But yeah, check his Twitter account out if you guys like that sort of thing. He's got great information there, and I just posted it in the chat for those. Jim and Matt, do you have any thoughts whatsoever on Fisker stock other than, hey, we're supposed to buy low and sell high?
Well, I know. It was low, so I bought some more.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been dollar cost averaging my way down too.
Yeah.
Most of my savings, 99% of it is all in retirement in ETFs that are low cost. Yeah. I have 0.5% in just fund money that I just that I have in some EV stocks, and I think I posted on Fiskerati what
you did
what is it, signature. I have like
That's
what
right.
Stocks I own, and I just like, for me, I've gone through so many of these cycles over the last 20 something years working in the financial markets. It's like, it doesn't bother me. I tend not to take any of it like personally like stress about it. I just like,
Yeah.
it's for your personal savings. You gotta just act rationally, make the right decisions. And I'm a big follower of rebalancing every 6 months, and you just gotta keep things going to a plan. And I don't react to any of these. The only thing I do is I try to take advantage of, since I did have a lot of cash waiting on the side for the EV stocks. That's why I'm buying now. So I'm kind of happy with the price of Fisker right now. My average cost now is under $9. So
That's great.
I just see it's going to go up at some point, and I'll be just glad I put some investments at these prices. So
yeah, my average cost on Fisker is $9.43 a share, and I hold it right now 100% in my retirement account in my IRA. So it's all in on Fisker. Well, who knows where it goes? Could go down, could go out of business. I don't believe it will, but it could, right? That's the risk of investing. I've actually gotten that question from a couple people. What if I buy the vehicle and the company goes out of business? I'll be like, well, you'll be just like the Karma owners, right? They bought the vehicle and the company went out of business. Life goes on. You'll have a collector's item.
Works.
Yeah, it still works. You'll have a car that a lot of people desire and want.
Updates.
Yeah. So here's the thing I want to get across. And there's somebody who is, I think, very well respected, not by everybody, but at least I highly respect the individual. That would be, founder and I think chairman still, maybe not even chairman, but founder of Amazon. I worked at Amazon, as some of you may know, and when I worked there, Jeff Bezos would always say at our all hands meetings, he'd always say, and set the table, set the context. I was at Amazon when the stock was at $225 a share. It went upwards to $3,500, $3,700, whatever it was, over the course of the time that I worked there. Now, he would always say at the all hands meetings two different things, depending on which where the stock was and how it was performing. One of the quotes that he used to say was, "The stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock." And that could be so true to Fisker. That's why I bring it up. The stock could be trading horribly. The stock is definitely much lower than it is now. It's down, I said, 58% on the year. No one could have imagined that. What is that? Like I mentioned earlier today, 36 days before the start of production. For the people who got into the stock in the SPAC days, the company's done a lot. They've hit a lot of milestones. They've executed very well. They haven't hit everything on time. Like the experience centers or the lounges, those are supposed to open in the summer. They got pushed back to November. That's next month. We had the pushback of the dates for the journalists and the analysts to test drive the vehicle. That got pushed back. That didn't, they didn't hit that milestone or that delivery date. But they have hit a lot of engineering dates. They've definitely, on the engineering, product development, product design, they've nailed it. And those might actually be the most important, given they've already sold out of the first 5,000 vehicles. So that to me is probably the most important thing. Now, the second quote from Jeff Bezos, who at one point was the richest person in the world. When he went to the all hands, he also used to say this one, and this one was kind of funny. This one was usually the one that I heard because when I was there, most of the time the stock was going up. And he said this, he said, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when the stock is down 30% in a month, it's not going to feel so good to be 30% dumber. So I thought that was always kind of a fun quote. Like, hey, it goes up, you're going to feel 30% smarter, sure, but when it goes down, do you want to feel 30% dumber? Probably not. So the company itself is not the stock, and the stock is not the company. They can totally trade in two different area, two different, one company could be performing well internally, metrics could be going good, and the stock might not be performing well. And in the case of a bear market that we're in, the stock market isn't doing well, which is bringing not just Fisker down, but all automotive stocks and the entire market down, including all tech stocks. You name it, go look at the year-to-date performance. It's likely down in the 25% range and onwards. If it's not, it's an anomaly. So I would say hang in there if you are an investor in general. Maybe we'll see brighter days in the future, as that's usually what happens after you see a bear market. You end up seeing a plateau or a trough, and then you end up seeing maybe the new bull market at some point. Whoever knows knows when that'll be. Your guess is as good as mine. But I hope those two quotes kind of put things into context. Fisker could be doing really well internally, even though the stock is not doing so well. So lighten up. Quit hounding the company. I know there's a lot of people out there on different message boards, adding Henrik Fisker and yelling at him, being irate with him. And then the same, with emailing the company and being irate and saying nasty things. Like, lighten up. We've all lost money. We get it. It is what it is. That's what happens when you invest. And good thing you weren't around. Yeah, good thing a lot of these people weren't around during the .com bubble. Like that's when I got into real investing. I got to work at a brokerage firm, and I got to see, from 1999 to 2002, I was in front of a screen looking at stock tickers all day long. That was brutal, right? The NASDAQ went down 80 something % in the course of a year. Amazon stock was like at 100 and, I don't know, say 110, 113, went down to like $6 or $7 a share, all within a year. Like, brutal. We haven't seen that with all the companies that are technology related. We've seen it with some, and they haven't gone down. Not all of them have gone down 80%, and we haven't seen too many go out of business yet. Whereas in the .com bubble bursting, we saw a lot of companies go out of business. So we haven't gotten that bad yet. Keyword yet. Who knows if it will get that bad? Hopefully it won't. We'll focus tomorrow on that CPI data, and we'll go from there and kind of see what happens. That's all I had to say on stocks. So be on the lookout for maybe seeing some stocks bottom out here. Look at the data tomorrow and kind of see what direction the market moves and how big of a move the stock market goes up or down, and that might dictate a little bit about where things are headed. We'll give an update again next week based on kind of where things stand as we do every week. And that's pretty much all we have on that. We're going to go now over to our chat and look at questions. And while we go ahead and do that, I'm going to talk about a couple improvements we made over on the Fiskerati site while we pull up the questions here. We actually made a couple improvements to the navigation, both on the Fiskerati forums and the Fiskerati site. So it's consistent 100% across the board. Unless you're logged into Fiskerati forums, you see a My Profile section at the top of the screen in the nav, which you wouldn't see over on the Fiskerati site. But they're both consistent. You should be able to easily access everything now, regardless of the site you're on. So hopefully that's a better experience. Over on the Fiskerati forums, you now have private messaging or direct messaging, which was a very requested feature. You also have my favorite. You can upload multiple images with one post now. So you can drag like 10 images if you wanted from your desktop, or you can select 10 images from your phone and upload those to one post, as opposed to having to do one post for each image. That was a pain in the butt. That has been fixed. That's improved. Much better experience. And then we've added a new button at the top of the homepage for every major forum category that says Add Topic, making it easier for people to choose the correct forum to put a post in. That said, I got two reports actually of people having issues with the Fiskerati iOS app and Android app. They keep getting hung up on the splash screen. It's not loading the next screen. I hate saying this, but it worked. Delete the app, reinstall the app, and you end up having the issue fixed. It shouldn't be like that, but there's something somewhere, something got out of whack, and deleting the app, reinstalling the app, that actually fixes the issue for the people who are getting hung up on the splash screen. So that's all I have for updates there. Now, questions. It looks like we have a few questions. Do you guys have any that you've seen right out of the get-go?
Yeah, they got. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'll go. I noticed back towards the beginning when we were talking about upcoming things we'd like to see on the, I guess, the final production version that's going to be at the car show. Hammer Time had mentioned that he'd like to see the rear control screen, which is definitely something that we haven't talked about very much. I guess it's going to be on the for the rear controls for air and seats and other things. It's going to be like an
LCD. It's not like the limo mode, right? Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah, the limo mode. Yeah. I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and we don't even know where that's going to be positioned, do we? Is it like the center armrest, or is it right where the rear of the center console? Do we know where that's going to be?
Sure. I'm not sure what the final choice was going to be. So,
yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, we will see. The only thing we know, though, about the limo mode is it's not going to put a partition in between the driver and passenger in the front of the seats versus everybody in the back, right? I can almost guarantee that's not going to be a part of limo mode. Yeah.
We got a question of, does the roadshow in the U.S. need any appointments to visit? I plan to visit from Dallas to Kansas City, but need to make sure.
The answer is no. You do not need a reservation. And I did see a post from someone, I think it was Fisker. They're going to allow anyone to sit in the vehicle in the United States. This is about United States. I don't know what they're doing with the production tent vehicle over in Paris. But the Seattle, Houston, Dallas, and Austin, you can be a reservation holder or a non-reservation holder, and you'll be able to sit in the vehicle. That means it's going to be attended, whether it's at the Seattle Center or at the Post, or at the hotel at San Jose. There's going to be somebody there looking after the vehicle and allowing people to sit in it. So that's pretty exciting. When you were at Brooklyn, I believe it was, they ended up saying, hey, anyone can sit in it, but if you're a reservation holder, show us and you might get a goodie. And they did hand out a lot of Fisker bags, reusable canvas bags at the Brooklyn event. They did the same thing, I believe, over in Pebble Beach. And I got my Fisker reusable canvas bag over at the San Diego Fully Charged Live. So if you are a reservation holder, who knows if Fisker's going to hand out canvas bags at their pop-up locations here in the United States. But bring your phone and make sure you have the app on there. If you want a canvas bag, you might get one if they have them by showing your reservation or your pre-order. Show both, right? So that's good. Yeah. The next question I have over here, if you guys have others, the next one I have is, do we have a breakdown by country for Fisker Ocean 1 reservation holders? And the answer to that is no, we don't. Fisker's not shared anything with the general public about that. We tried to conduct a poll in the forum. We got a few, I don't know how many, we've done two polls. Yeah, we did two polls originally. We did one, and then we ended up wanting to get more data, and we did like a Google survey or something. I haven't looked at that in forever. I don't know where that's at, but last I looked, there might have been 100 people in that one. The other one had over 100 people. So we don't have data on all 5,000 people, but maybe it's a significant data set where we need a few hundred people probably to determine kind of where things are. But I can tell you, when I looked at those polls last, and maybe I can find it here, there was quite a few people in the United States. United States seemed to take the cake for reservation holders across the 9 launch markets. So I don't know if that's that clearly doesn't answer your question. I don't know how many people are in the UK versus France and so forth, but you might want to head over to the Fiskerati forums. I can't find it right out of the get-go here. I got to search a bunch of. Let me do the search box here real quick and type in survey and see if I can find it. I'll pull it up on the screen for everybody. Let's see here.
While you're doing that, so people were confused when we were talking about the infotainment center, and we were talking about it having Android Automotive, and people were like, "Oh, great, it's going to have Android Auto." Now, Android Automotive is the software running the system, Android Auto is an app that goes along that connects to the stereo and the system. So Android Auto and Android Automotive are completely different things. Polestar uses Android Automotive, and you can't connect your Android Auto to it. So it's it's two complete different things, just so everybody understands that.
So I just found the survey results, and I just posted them to the chat for the people that may be interested in that. So the survey about where are Fisker Ocean reservation, Fisker Ocean 1 reservation holders, where are they based by country? We have our 9 launch markets. I'm sharing this on the screen for those watching along. For those that are listening to the podcast, we have Austria, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, United Kingdom, and the United States. 74%, I should say 58 people responded to this poll. The other one had well over 100 people. We wanted to get more data, so we did a Google survey, multiple questions, and 58 responses. 74.1% of the people are in the United States. The next biggest country is probably going to be, looks like Canada and Denmark tie. Yeah, 6.9% of the vote, each of those countries. Followed by, it looks like we got another tie, United Kingdom and Germany at 3.4%. And then we have, let's see here, what's up here? We have Austria with 1.7%, and Norway with 1.7%, and Sweden with 1.7%. So we didn't get anybody, it looks like, taking this poll that was in France. And probably missed another country there, but bulk of the people, United States, go figure. And if I were to say, based on the traffic of people who come to the Fiskerati site, I would overwhelmingly say a majority of the people in the United States happen to be in California. So that seems to be a big bulk of the people. Percentage-wise, I can't remember what it is, but we can talk about that at another point. I actually shared that data, I believe, with some members of the Fiskerati forums in the forum chat, in the club chat. So that is there for the people that are interested in that. I did a breakdown of kind of where the traffic is on Fiskerati. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. But yeah, questions. Let's see. Hey,
Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, can you put me big on the screen for a second? I've got my video on my phone. People can actually see it. So
go for it.
Well, we can do it that way. You enter the seat storage. Well, if I can get it in there. There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Nice.
It's like a little mini glove box.
It is a mini glove box. Yeah, it's pretty cool. 2 mini glove boxes. Yeah, like putting the registration and the insurance card under the underneath the center console where it's exposed with air on each side. It probably won't blow all over the place, but I don't want to visually see my insurance and registration card. The napkins will probably blow all over the place, especially if I have the sunroof or the solar sky roof open. Who knows how much airflow you're going to get in the cabin. And one thing, I don't know what it's called, you guys may know, and I haven't seen it on the Fisker Ocean, so it'll be interesting to see with the solar sky roof. When you, and I would have to imagine it has that, but there's like a noise dampener, as would be the way that I would describe it, at the very front of the vehicle, where the opening of the sunroof is with the windshield. It sticks up a little so the air doesn't make that, it doesn't make that humming sound in the cabin. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen those.
I don't know what that's called.
It's just like a deflector.
A deflector, yeah. I haven't seen
that. Air deflector.
Yeah, I haven't seen that on the Fisker Ocean. I don't know if they're going to have that or not, but I'm sure they figured that noise out.
Yeah, sometimes they pop up as it goes back. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe
that's correct. Yeah, it pops out once the roof is done. But I haven't personally seen a Fisker Ocean in person with the solar sky roof. So, and I can't recall what the Ultra had over in San Diego. But it definitely had the roof open, but that bit I didn't think about it. And I probably could look at one of the photos if I even took one of that area. So what else do we
Somebody
have
was
here?
somebody
I
was
do have
asking
one.
about the solar roof, and they about, I don't know, having a sunshade and everything, and they said it would damage the interior components if it was baking out in the sun all day. And I'm sure you guys probably know more about the Tesla stuff, because Tesla's been around for a long time. I haven't heard of like interior stuff melting and everything, and they've always had full, full roofs. So
Yeah, when I'm in
we
Palm
haven't had any
Springs,
ish.
yeah, I've never had any issues of, the car itself inside gets really hot. Um, I've never put my hand on the glass roof of the Tesla Model 3. But on the exterior when it's like scorching, I've obviously touched it when it's here in San Diego. But in Palm Springs, where it's like it could be 113, 115, the car could be left out in the sun at direct sunlight, and we've never had any damage over like a whole week. I left it in the sun, no damage to the interior. The problem when I did that week when we were in Palm Springs, I happened to park next to a sprinkler, and I ended up getting a whole bunch of a spray from the sprinkler on the car, water spots that ended up baking every single day and left little crystallization water spots. So that was quite of a pain to get off of the paint. It did come off, but nothing damaged on the inside of the car. I've never had that, and I've only had it for just over a year. So
Yeah,
maybe
and
that's
most of
not enough time.
our ID4, we didn't have any problem with our ID4 either. And most of that glass, I'm sure Fisker's gonna be the same way. That glass is a tinted glass or a darkened glass, so it's not going to, have full sun rays just blasting into the car.
It's UV protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
One thing
go for it.
I just want to add that one thing I like about the ID4 is it does have the retractable sunshade that Tesla doesn't
Yes.
have. A lot of cars don't have that. I know the Mach-E doesn't have it. A few others don't have it either. But we have the retractable on our Volvo's, has a panoramic roof too. And it's just so nice sometimes just close it and not have the sun glaring at you. So,
yeah.
So we had one question close to the top. When are they going to release battery specs and charging capabilities? That we don't know. That's kind of the stuff secret to their vest. Maybe we'll get that next week with the vehicle over in Paris. When we were talking about that, Tommaso ended up giving his thoughts. He said actually the release said it'll be the Extreme. So I didn't see that, but he said it's the Extreme that's going to be there, and maybe I missed that, but that's the vehicle that's going to be there. That'll be interesting if it is an Extreme. That's the top of the line. So we'll be able to see all the features, which will be really neat, including the taco tray on the driver's side. That'll be pretty cool. We don't know what color though, I believe, right? We don't know if it's going to be Mariana or what, but TBD, Monday, not too far away, less than a week. Next question we have here. We kind of talked about this one just a minute ago. Let's see here. Curious why the stock keeps dropping. I started investing back in July, and with the announcement of Magna meeting expectations thus far, I expected it to rise. Saturated EV market maybe. And just as I mentioned, if you're still on that with Sean Warwick, who asked that question, it's more of a market thing than it is a automotive thing or the EV thing or a Fisker thing. So if you just need to kind of look at the bigger picture of all the stuff that's going down, and it's the entire market, and it just happens to be that Fisker is. You could look at it as an automotive company like Yahoo, who put it in their automotive watch list, or you could look at it as a tech company. Those are getting beaten up the worst out of all the stocks out there. So that's why it's down, and it doesn't really matter if they do come out with good news. And in fact, if the market does sell off tomorrow, I wouldn't expect the stock to go up on any news that we get out of Fisker. Maybe it'll help stop the stock from dropping, faster. But I would expect if the whole market sells off tomorrow or next week, that Fisker will also sell out regardless of what news is out there. That's just appears to be the type of stock market we're in right now. And you have to have a high risk tolerance if you're invested in a stock like Fisker or a Facebook or Meta or Google or Apple. It doesn't matter what it is. Obviously the bigger market cap, the less risky. But Fisker's a startup. And they're a publicly traded startup. So a lot could still go wrong with the company. Nothing's a guarantee, which also makes it kind of fun and exciting, right? At least for me, it's kind of fun and exciting. Next question we have is, you guys may have answered that one already. I'm going to skip it. Okay. Wonder if the ambient lighting will be different colors. Don't have a clue.
I hope so.
You hope so?
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of companies do.
Yeah.
A lot of companies have the ability to change at least 6 or 8 colors, and then some of them have unlimited, because they have like one of those color, I forgot the name of it.
Like a color wheel?
Like a color wheel. And you can just,
color picker?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just pick what you want.
That's how ours is.
How many different colors does your ID4 get?
No, as many as I want.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It just puts the display up there, and I can just pick whatever combinations. I can have one color up top, one color below, however
cool.
I want to do it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Customization, nice. Next question for you, Jim. We were talking about EV chargers, I think, and somebody had the question. The ChargePoint Home Flex could be better than the wall box if the car can get all the juice out of it. Does it sound correct to you, Jim? I'm going to read that again. The ChargePoint Home Flex could be better than the wall box if the car can get all the juice out of it. Does it sound correct to you, Jim?
I don't know what the max on both of those are, but I would assume like our ID4 can only pull up to a maximum of 48 amps. So we would not want to get a charger that's over 48 amps because it would be kind of pointless. But once we know what Fisker will pull, then if it's 60 amps or higher, then you want to get the one that you can max out on if that's what you choose to do. The biggest thing is just get one that is affordable, that you can use, that will charge in the time that you need it to. Because it doesn't do you any good to get something that may be really fast and charge in just a couple hours. If you could spend less money for something that might take 5 or 6 hours more to charge while you're sleeping, and you don't necessarily, have to need that. But yeah, do a little shopping around and find which one works the best for you. We got ours off of Amazon. Ours, because of our situation, the wiring situation at the time, we could max out at 16 amps, and later this week I'll be upping the wiring and fuses and stuff, so we'll be able to go up to a maximum of 38 amps, I believe. But the charger or EVSE that I have is a dual 16 amp or 32 amp. So when I upgrade, now I can go up to 32 amp and pull a little more power and charge a little faster. So
on the subject of chargers, there's another question for either of you. I think I know the answer, but you guys will be the experts here. Why does nobody make a home DC charger? I think you need to have quite a big. Yeah, go for it.
Well, you need to have a 480 volt line brought to your house, and that's usually only available at commercial or industrial locations. It's very rarely seen for residential, and the units themselves are multi tens of thousands of dollars. So it's just not cost effective.
Yeah, I just, Ford had that thing where they were talking about moving to the dealers having to choose the electric cars. And I was just talking to my dealership, and they are planning on putting 2 DC fast chargers in. And they said that that's going to run them about $200,000 to $300,000 to have those installed. That's equipment and installation. So it's not cheap for you to do that at home. So you're looking at rewiring everything, basically.
And I think I've gone through all of the questions. I think that was, actually there's one here that I missed here. If it scrolls down here, where can we pre-order the Fisker Ocean Sport? So it depends on where you live. Jackson, Jacksoft, I think is your handle. If you're here in the US, which I would imagine you being, given you're probably not in the UK right now, you could be in Canada. But if you were following along a couple months ago, Fisker allowed people to pre-order the Sport, Ultra, and Extreme here in the United States right before there was changes to the federal EV tax credit system. That got closed, that pre-ordering window here in the United States for the US allocation of those vehicles got closed when that legislation got passed and signed by the president. I can't remember the specific date, but I believe it was sometime in August. And Fisker hasn't said when they're going to reopen pre-ordering for the Sport here, or the Ultra, or the Extreme here in the United States. If you're in any country outside of the United States, if you go over to Fisker's FAQ on their site, they actually have a section, I believe, called Ordering. And on there, they talk about the date of November 18th, which happens to be a day after the official start of production. They're going to allow people to do pre-ordering. They didn't say which trims, but pre-ordering in different countries outside of the United States on November 18th. So that is hopefully a answer to your question. We don't have an exact date for you, but you said where can we pre-order? When you're able to pre-order, you'll be able to do it on the Fisker Flexi app, where you can find it in the iOS, the Android, or the iOS App Store, the Google Play, Apple App Store, or you can go to the Fisker site and do it there. Log into your account. You need to create an account and do it there. So those are the two places you can do it. Do it on your mobile phone, do it on your desktop computer. But those are your options. And then we have, I think that's it. Or there's something there. I'm not quite sure. Just reading. Let's see here. So we have Tommaso says, I believe the Wallbox Quasar bidirectional charger will charge in DC, but still at the same speed of level 2. That's interesting.
Yeah, we still don't have all the final specs for that. I think it's coming out early next year.
That's right.
And Hugo says, hey, Sean, no question, but congrats on getting a press pass for the Paris Auto Show. Major come up for Fiskerati.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what that event's like. The November 10th date, Sean should get a press pass for the Fisker November 10th event. What's on November 10th? Anyone know off the top of your head? I don't know November 10th. That date doesn't ring a bell in my head.
Maybe he's thinking the 17th. Maybe I'm not sure.
Oh, that was Hammer Time. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hammer Time. What event are you talking about on November 10th? Probably don't know that one. I think the last event that I'm aware of will be the one in Texas. Last event will probably be the Dallas, Texas, November 5th through 6th. So we'll have to keep our eyes posted for any new dates in November. We do potentially have the test drive in Graz, Austria. We haven't been invited to that. I don't know if anyone's been invited to that, but we certainly haven't been invited to that yet. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. If we do, we'll be able to provide a review on that. We'll have lots of stuff to talk about. That'll be fun. November 10th, investors are invited to see the Magna facility for Fisker. Oh, that's news to me. I didn't hear that. Where did you hear that, Hammer Time? If you have a link, please send the link in the chat. That'd be interesting. Maybe that's on the investor relations site. Let's go check that out real quick. Don't see anything there. Events, nothing on the latest events. So yeah, let us know how you heard about that. That would be interesting. So I think that's all we have for today's show. If you happen to be listening to this on the All Things Fisker podcast, or you're still watching live, and you go to the Paris Motor Show next week, or if you do plan to go to the Seattle pop-up location or any of the Texas pop-up locations, send us your photos. You can email them to contact@fiskerati.com, and we'll feature them on the site, and we'll feature them on this show. That'll be fun to look at your photos and videos. So thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out with us for a couple hours tonight. It's been a pleasure, and take care.